But the problem with product marketing is they know all about the product, but they really lack understanding of how specific customers use specific parts of that product to solve specific problems and achieve specific goals. They really don't know how their customers use their products. And so
welcome to 7 to 8, our special series on 7 to 8 figure entrepreneurs. In this special series, I interview $1 million, some $10 million, and even some $1 million business owners who uncovered their twists and turns in their entrepreneurial adventure in order to help you to avoid the potholes and stick to the fast track. Welcome now to center stage, our next special guest. Hey there, peeps. I'm Michelle Nedelec, and I am super glad that you are here with us today because I'm here with my most amazing guest, Mike. Mike, thank you so much for being here with us today.
My pleasure. We met on LinkedIn, I believe.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So give everybody a highlight of who you are and what you do for business.
Well, I'm a career sales trainer. I spent my first 10 years in the corporate world for Xerox Computer Services, which invented cloud computing in 1969. And at the end of 10 years with them, the last 6 years, I did all their internal sales training. And so people kept telling me, oh, you're really good at this, Mike. So in 1983, I started my own sales training business called Solution Selling. And I went solo for 5 years. And then as I kept doing more corporate workshops, my vice president of sales clients, the people that hired me to train their troops, would say, Mike, I want to do solution selling too, because it was role play intensive. For every 4 people at the U, we had a role play coach at the back. And typically these senior executives, I taught them how to coach in role play sessions, their own people, and they loved that. And then they wanted to do solution selling, but I didn't want to have a corporation. I liked working out of my house for myself, creating content and teaching. I didn't want any more HR departments or budgeting goat dance meetings every year and all that stuff. And I met an intellectual property lawyer in San Diego in 1988 who created a way for me to license solution selling to other practitioners where they pay me a royalty. And by the mid-90s, I was getting about $3.5 million a year in the mailbox. And, still no employees, never had an employee. It was all virtual. And
nice. I love
it. That was my business. And anyway, we can go from there. Why don't you?
And today, so where did it bring us to full fruition? Where are you at today?
Okay, full fruition. When I founded Solution Selling, my mission was to try and correct the 80-20 rule that happens in most large sales forces, where 20% of the salespeople bring in 80% of the revenue. And I thought, boy, if we could get that bottom 80% producing more, it would be amazing. And in 2008, I found out that number had never changed. And it kind of like stabbed me in the heart. And then I started reflecting in 2008 on something that I had kind of pushed away and denied for 20 years. But for the past 20 years, my vice president of sales clients would say to me 6 months after we did the workshop, Mike, my Eagles, my top 20% love solution selling, but the bottom 80% quit using it within 2 weeks of the workshop. And I finally figured out in 2008 why. And if you go onto ChatGPT and you say, what percentage of American adults have high EQ? 17 to 21%. And I realized that the real difference between top 20% salespeople and bottom 80% salespeople is they have this intuitive ability to emotionally connect and build trust quickly with strangers. And then if you take that view out to all of humanity, teachers, politicians, doctors, lawyers, or whatever, 20% of us intuitively are able to emotionally connect and build trust with strangers, and 80% of us aren't. And so now I realize that the 80% who quit using solution selling within 2 weeks of the workshop, what was happening is, since they did not have that intuitive ability, they had a natural discomfort meeting a stranger for the first time. And so they went to their sales process prematurely. And the sales process of solution selling was intelligent discovery. We had the smartest solution people in the company write the discovery questions for the salespeople, so they could appear to be more knowledgeable than they were by asking intelligent questions to their buyers that they were capable of answering. But the reason 80% of them quit using solution selling was they'd go out, and since they couldn't connect intuitively, they pulled up their questioning prompters prematurely and started asking all these pretty deep, probing discovery questions. And the buyers went, "Whoa, you don't know me well enough to ask me all these questions." And so in 2008, I figured out a way to teach the bottom 80% how to use stories to build connection and trust with strangers. And the bottom 80%, especially in the B2B world, they hire a lot of really smart, but maybe geeky people who don't connect so well. Engineers and scientists and chemists, and 80% of us don't connect naturally. So they need if they're going to learn to connect with strangers, they need a process. And we came up with a way to teach them how to do it using the power of story.
Nice. So tell us a little bit about emotional intelligence, or EQ, when for people that don't know, and then let's get into kind of the storytelling and how that works.
Well, emotional intelligence is when you can read facial expressions and body language and energy and emotional expressions of the other person, and be tuned in to who they are and where they're going. And it's a skill that only about 20% of the population has.
Right. So how does storytelling help to be able to kind of bypass that gap?
Well, I'll give you my own personal story. When for my first 2.5 years at Xerox Computer Services, because they hired me right out of college, I was taking care of customers, which meant helping them do their general ledger, accounts payable, accounts receivable, order entry, inventory on our transaction processing real-time full integration system. And so when Xerox asked me to go into sales after 2.5 years, I was 28 years old. I had two answers: no and hell no. No, because my experience for the first 2.5 years taking care of customers that were misled by our salespeople who told them our product would do things it wouldn't do. And so I had a disrespect of the sales profession in my own company, because I was out cleaning up the messes of the promises the salespeople made that the product really, wouldn't fulfill. The hell no was because my violent alcoholic father, who never kept a job longer than 6 months, was a salesman. And the last thing I ever wanted to do was to be like him. But anyway, so I knew how our customers in all departments used our product to do their job better. What I lacked was, how do I go find prospects? And so my boss said, I'm going to teach you how to cold call. And so back in, this was 1974, we'd go out back then knocking on doors, smokestacking, where we'd actually walk in and do the cold call face to face. And we had a first generation paradigm shifting manufacturing product called MRP, Material Requirements Planning, in 1974. And so I'd go out, my marketing people would say, here are all the manufacturing companies in your territory that could use our product, because they have lots of bills of material and thousands of parts and stuff. And so they gave me a list of companies to go cold call. So I'd go in and I'd go up to the receptionist. Now this is 1974. Back then, all the receptionists were female. And I was trying to call on materials managers, and they were all male. I never met a female materials manager in 1974. But anyway, I'd go in and I'd say, hi, my name's Mike Bosworth, and I'm with Xerox Computer Services, and I'd like to speak to your materials manager. And she would pick up the phone, call a materials manager. Now, a couple of things. One, materials managers never had salespeople calling on them back then. And also back then, if you were a manufacturing professional, the only way you could learn about how new technology is going to enhance manufacturing productivity was from salespeople. There was no internet. And so because of those two things, 80% of the time they'd come out of curiosity. One, why does somebody from Xerox want to talk to the materials manager? And I might learn something about new technology. So 80% of the time they come out and they'd walk up to me. And as soon as they'd walk up to me, they'd look at their watch. Because I'm 28 and he's 50. So what do you think is going through his head?
You don't know squat.
You don't know squat. See, my EQ showed me that. I could sense immediately, oh God, I got to be nice to this guy for 10 minutes, before I give him the boot. Now, what I did then was intuitive, and I didn't learn to teach it until 2008. But intuitively, I'd confirm the job title. I'd say, so Michelle, you're the materials manager. And she would say, yes, I am. And this is after they looked at their watch. And I say, can I share a quick story with you about another materials manager less than a mile from here that I've been working with for the last 18 months? Now, guess how many times that year that story ever got turned down?
None.
None. Because of pure curiosity. In the professional world, CFOs are curious about what other CFOs are doing, and engineers are curious about what other engineers are doing. Pure curiosity. So in all cases, they said, sure, go ahead with the story. And in 60 seconds, I told what we eventually labeled a customer hero story. Well, so I'd say, I'll paraphrase the story. I'd say, so the story I want to tell you is about a guy named Ed Blackman, who's currently the president of the Orange County chapter of the American Production and Inventory Control Society. And I met Ed 2 years ago because my boss made me join the American Production and Inventory Control Society, because he wanted me to once a month sit around at a table and learn from manufacturing professionals. So anyway, 18 months ago, when Ed Blackman, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. So back then, Ed, like all other materials managers, had a very difficult job. His CFO was very unhappy with him because they were carrying so much inventory, which was sucking profits. And the VP of manufacturing was really unhappy with him because his past due backlog was 28%. And 18 months ago, when Ed Blackman discovered that Xerox now is bringing out a new IT capability for manufacturing companies that allowed them to replan their entire plant overnight, he raised his hand and he said, I want to be first. I want to be your guinea pig. I know you don't have any other customers yet, but this makes so much sense to me. I want to be first. Here we are 18 months later. His inventory used to be 8 million, now it's 2.7 million. And his past due backlog used to be 28%, now it's 3%. But enough about me. What's going on around here?
Nice.
Okay, so 60 seconds after he looked at his watch, now I passed
Now
the
you're
torch
in.
to him, and he said, you want to come in and look around? And so now I was the fox in the hen house, and for the next 45 minutes, he took me through everything. I'd say, show me how you open up a work order. Show me what piece of paper you use here. Show me that. And in my first 5 months in sales, I outsold everybody in the history of the company in a full year.
Nice.
And it was that one story filled my entire pipeline.
Nice.
And so that story removed his inherent discovery resistance that most all of us have towards salespeople. And 60 seconds after he looked at his watch, he's now come to a few emotional conclusions. The first one is yeah, I thought this guy was too young to know anything, but he really understands how hard my job is. And it sounds like he's got something that would be miraculous around here because my shortages are killing me. So that story allowed him to come to those emotional conclusions, and those emotional conclusions reduced his discovery resistance. And we all have discovery resistance against salespeople.
I love it because one, I never would have guessed that ERP was around in 97 or 74.
It was 74.
74.
Yeah. Good thing you weren't an accountant.
Yeah, exactly. That wasn't even dyslexia. I don't know how I got 97 in my brain. And the other is for people that don't necessarily have that story. Like, it was great that you had a knight in shining armor that bought on right away and had an epic conclusion to the results. What about people that don't necessarily get those kind of results, or they don't have their first client may not have that kind of opportunity? They don't have that kind of gap. So how do you help them to create those
where do
stories?
the stories come from? I think is what you're asking me. This is the biggest problem certainly in the B2B sales world, and certainly in the high technology B2B sales world, is these big companies have a department called product marketing. And when they hire new salespeople into the company, who do you think teaches them about the product? Product marketing. But the problem with product marketing is they know all about the product, but they really lack understanding of how specific customers use specific parts of that product to solve specific problems and achieve specific goals. They really don't know how their customers use their products. And so when we get a new Story Seekers client, first thing we do before we train any salespeople is we have a little workshop for product marketing, and we say to them, we're going to teach you how to go out and harvest customer hero stories from your existing customers, your existing happy customers. And so we would teach them to go out and say, so Michelle, show me how you're using our blankety blank product in your job today. And they were all very happy to show us, well, now, this used to be a problem. Now I do this and this and this. And they're happily showing us what they do. And then the key question is, well, to build a story. Well, before you had our product, how did you do that? And they go, oh, it was a problem, it was a hassle, it was full of errors, it just da 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 da. So once we got the before and the after and the results of the product usage, now we can build these little customer hero stories that the salespeople can go out and find new prospects with.
I love it. So would you say that it works across industries? Is there an industry that it works better for? What has been your experience?
Humans love stories. Two-legged creatures have been on this, that speak orally, have been on this earth for 190,000 years at least, according to anthropologists. And for the vast majority of that time, everything people learned about tribal customs and food and culture and enemies and friends was via oral story. You know, don't eat those red berries because your grandfather died eating those red berries. Everything was passed down orally. And and this was in 2008, I found out that when a human anticipates a story, now with kids, we rear them on, once upon a time, and and if you can get in your jammies and brush your teeth by 8 o'clock, I'll tell you a story. Yeah. So the anticipation of the stories we kind of are reared on, but when humans hear us anticipate a story, their critical left brain, they've done this in MRIs, actually shuts down, and their right brain, connected to their feelings and their senses, opens up. And intuitively, they say to themselves, oh, a story. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to make a decision. I can just enjoy it. It's a story. Yet something else in the back of their brain says, however, I should probably pay attention because this might be important information I need to remember, like how Grandpa died eating those red berries. And so can you think of a better frame of mind for a sales message than that?
Right.
And
so I'm going to take it with that nope, there's no, as long as you have sales in your company, which you should. And if you don't, you got to talk to Mike. That is awesome. So in a moment, I'm going to ask you about a Cinderella story. But before I do that, we're going to take a bit of a break.
Are you running a business over 7 figures but still struggling with technology headaches? Pay attention, you do not want to miss this offer. This podcast episode is brought to you by Awareness Strategies, who is offering a custom-built digital adoption roadmap for anyone running a business over 7 figures who's wanting to grow their business in the next 5 years. And it's not just a roadmap, they offer full implementation as well if that scares the out of you. Check out awarenessstrategies.com/roadmap for more details today. The link's in the show's notes. Don't regret not doing this. Do it now. That's awarenessstrategies.com/roadmap.
So I am very excited to hear an example of a Cinderella story of one of your clients.
All right. Well, I'm going to have to give you a little background information first.
Yeah.
One of the most innovative marketing books I read a long time ago was by a Silicon Valley guy named Jeffrey Moore, who wrote a book called Crossing the Chasm. And his premise in this book was there's all these exciting startup companies who start off like crazy and then they disappear. And in his book, he said, if you invent a better mousetrap, you're typically going to have some experts write a white paper and you're going to go to trade shows and demo your new technology. And what happens is when you're demoing that new technology, 13% of the people walking around in that trade show will look at that and go, wow, I've been waiting for somebody to finally do this. This makes perfect sense to me. And they raise their hand and buy it on their own. But then what happened, and so everybody gets excited, but then what happens is you run out of innovators and early adopters. And the next phase of your bell curve in your market is the early majority. The early majority will not consider this until they know why they need it, how they would use it, and who else has already tried it. And so what happens is these hot new startups fall into the chasm because they run out of buyers who are smart enough to create their own buying vision. And so back in the early 90s, a company called Microsoft came out with a new product called Microsoft Office. And boy, the innovators and early adopters jumped all over it. And then Microsoft realized that they'd hit the chasm. And they contacted me and my solution selling group. And so what they did is they hired us to go out and interview their early market office customers and clients, dental offices and construction companies and all these small businesses. And so we'd go out to a construction company and say, Microsoft has hired us to come out and survey Microsoft customers and find out all the great things you're doing with Microsoft Office. And they'd say, oh, we use it every day. It used to be we didn't know which jobs were profitable and which ones weren't. And it would take us a month and a half to close the books and da-da-da-da-da. Now we can rank our jobs by profitability. You know, they'd be saying, wow, we love it. And then the big question, well, how did you do it before you had Microsoft Office? Oh, it was a hassle, da-da-da-da-da. So we wrote customer hero stories for the early Microsoft adopters of Office that now Microsoft could use those stories to sell to the early majority in the market.
Beautiful. So I know our audience would love to have their stocks turn into Microsoft stocks. So, and they'll want to get a hold of you and start that journey with you. So how did they do that? How did they
Well, the
engage with you?
easiest way, I'm on LinkedIn, as you know, because we connected on LinkedIn, and I'm on Facebook. And if you contact me on LinkedIn, I'll be happy to send you a link to my private AI. About 6 months ago, I got approached by a private AI company, and private meaning we took my 3 books and my TED Talks and my white papers, and this AI system ingested them all. And now you can go out and ask this private AI any question you would ask the human Mike Bosworth about marketing or leadership or sales. And so if you contact me on LinkedIn, I'll send you a link to that and you can try it for free and play with it.
That sounds awesome. So we will, of course, have Mike's LinkedIn link in the show notes. So go ahead and scroll down, open it up in another browser because we're not done yet. So Mike, you went through kind of your story of how you went into sales, but at what point in life did you know that you were especially kind of crazy enough to think that you could become an entrepreneur?
Well, the last 6 years I was Xerox Computer Services, about 5-6 times a year, I did the new sales boot camp, and people kept telling me, you could do this for a living. You could be a sales trainer. I joined a startup company after leaving Xerox, and for 1 year, it was another MRP system, but on a computer instead of hosted. And after a year, I opened up Southern California for them. We were doing gangbusters. And then I got called up to headquarters and they fired me. And they fired me because I've never been very good at filters. And
I love you more now.
I had told too many people that I thought I could do my boss's job much better than he could. And he's from IBM. And at IBM, you don't go around telling people that you could do your boss's job much better than he or she could. And so they fired me. And on the plane ride home, I said, F it, I'm starting my own sales training business. Nice. And the following morning, I got on the phone and I cold called the CEO of a competitive MRP company that we had beaten 5 times in a row. And his name was Jim Bensman. And I can't remember the name of his company, but I said, Jim, this is Mike Bosworth. And he says, I know who you are. And I said, well, what you don't know is that I've left this blankety blank company and I'm starting my own sales consulting business. And I'd like to come out next week and have lunch with you and see if there's some way I might be able to help you out. And he said, what are you doing today? And I said, nothing. So I met him that day for lunch. And this is my first day in business. He hired me 3 days a week at $900 a day to be a consultant for him.
Nice.
And so that's how with a cold call, that's how I launched my sales training business. And I think I told you by the mid 90s, the royalties were like 3.6 million a year in the mailbox.
That is beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. And I love that he gave you the opportunity to go and prove that you could actually do it better than he did.
Oh, and a side note, that same company that hired me a year later to train their salespeople. And when I went up there to train them, the CEO said, Mike, the biggest mistake we ever made was letting you go.
Right.
But I'm glad they did, because most successful people in the corporate world, the people who have the ability to be great entrepreneurs don't leave because they're so successful doing what they're doing. And I read in Entrepreneur magazine in the early 80s that said most entrepreneurs, some external event caused them to start their business. In my case, I got fired, or their company wanted to move them to Nebraska, or they downsized or whatever. But they were talented enough and successful enough that if they hadn't gotten pushed out of the nest, they wouldn't have started their business.
They just need a nudge. So hopefully we have a few of those in waiting listening. So when it came to building your business up to that $1 million mark, I want to take you back to before then. First of all, did you plan on having a $1 million, $10 million business, or did you just go into business and go, hey, this is fun, I think we'll keep doing this? How did that all go down?
Completely organic. People, as my business, got well into the millions, people would say, well, what was your business plan and what were your goals? And I said, I had no business plan. I had no goals. I got up every day and said, I want to do what I want to do that makes me feel good, that gives me satisfaction. And it grew organically.
Nice. I love it. So when there were certain things like getting in touch with a lawyer that gave you the IP rights, all those kind of things, was that just kind of a conversation that happened? You went, hey, yeah, that actually sounds like a smart idea.
I ran into this guy. I became friends with this guy who was an IP lawyer in San Diego when I was living there. And, he said, Mike, how come you aren't building a training company in infrastructure? And I said, because that corporate HR department, all that stuff, I don't want it. And he said, well, you can license your IP to other people. And I had my vice president of sales clients have been asking me, how do I get into solution selling? I want to do what you do. And I had no answer for them until then. Nice. And so they jumped on, and they were already their own customer hero stories.
Yep.
And in 1 year, I remember 12 of them grossed over $1 million.
Nice. That is awesome. So when it comes to building $1 million business, have you noticed, other than sales, or feel free to point that out again, because it might have been lost on some people, that there is kind of the secret sauce to building that business? Is it the having fun? Is it the sales? Is it the combination of, or is there something else going on?
Well, it's interesting. Part of our story seekers, we teach salespeople to build 3 stories in order to be successful in sales. One is a customer hero story, which we've already talked about. And one is your company hero story, how you take care of your clients and customers. And one is your personal story of why you do what you do. And we have a storyboard, which I'll be happy to share with you to help anybody building any kind of stories, which is a setting, a struggle, an insight, and a resolution. And then the optional is the moral of the story. And so when we'd have people build their own personal stories in the workshops, we go around and ask them what the moral of your story is. And they said, well, Mike, what's the moral of your story? And I thought about it. And I said, do good, have fun, and make money.
Nice.
And that was really what I was living at. I wanted to do good. I had to have fun, and I wanted to make money too. So those are the three things.
Those are three pretty good things. Is there any advice that you would give to somebody that's building their business and kind of looking at the market right now, or whenever they're listening to this and going, I don't know. What advice would you give them?
I really think that knowing how your customers use whatever you sell to solve problems, achieve goals, save money, or make money. If you don't have intimate knowledge of that, you're going to struggle. Don't force your potential customers to have to figure out on their own how they're going to make your product by looking at a demo or reading a brochure or looking at your website.
I love you. Have been absolutely awesome. Any last words for our peeps?
Well, my mission now, and I'm helping a few other people, is to see if we can raise the status of the sales profession and get people to view sales as more of an honorable profession. And the biggest barrier in that is public companies, because over my 40-some years, I've seen so many phenomenal companies go to shit, pardon me, when they go public. When they're private, the senior management team is focused on employee happiness and customer happiness. Once they go public, now they're trying to meet Wall Street's share price expectations. And they actually push their salespeople to misbehave. They say, if you can't get this deal in by the end of the quarter, we're going to find something else for you to do. And, I know they don't want to buy it until January, but we need this deal now. And they push their salespeople to misbehave.
That is most unfortunate. So hopefully our peeps listening will get a hold of you before that. And if we have any going public, make sure that that they have an opportunity to talk to you first.
Yeah.
Awesome. Mike, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. And I know how valuable it is.
Thank you for the opportunity. And I appreciate you exposing me to your followers.
Peeps, this is Michelle Nedelec. Thank you for being here with us today. Be sure to subscribe to the show and share with your friends. We love helping entrepreneurs grow. Thank you for listening to 7 to 8. If you're interested in upping your speaking game, be sure to connect with our guests with the links in the show notes, and connect with me to see how we can help you get your tech done for you and help your speaking dreams come true.